Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. This is your match preview for Manchester United versus Chelsea, and we're nearly there. 1 point needed over the next two games for United to qualify for the Champions League. Let's get into it. So as we know, Manchester United are coming off the back of a couple of good wins in the Premier League after a bit of a dip. And I mentioned going into, I think it was the Wolves game, that it's a big momentum swing. Obviously, if you go back as far as the Spurs game where United were 2-0 up at half-time, Spurs come back and draw 2-2. We subsequently lose the next two games. Big momentum swing in the wrong direction for United, but I think they've done well to maybe swing that pendulum back the opposite way and get a couple of professional wins. Not overly convincing wins, but I think it just builds that little bit of confidence coming into the business end of the season. Obviously, we need to get another point on the board to secure top four. And United can still actually go into third place in the Premier League, which is good. Obviously, Newcastle secured Champions League qualification in midweek, but they didn't win against Leicester. So it leaves United with a chance to go ahead of them. Obviously, this is the game in hand against Chelsea. So let's hope Manchester United can take advantage of that. We want to finish as high as we can in the league this season. Now, some good news on the Manchester United front is in relation to Marcus Rashford. We have seen he returned to training this week. He's missed the last two games, one through injury and the other through illness. So, look, obviously, I think fitness is not really a factor with him, given the fact that he would have been available for our previous game if he hadn't have been ill. So, it's interesting to see whether he'll go straight back into the team. Obviously, there's been some criticism over Anthony Martial in the last few days. Ten Hag looks like he's losing patience with him, potentially going to sell him in the summer. So does Marcus Rashford come straight back into the team? Does he go in maybe in the forward line through the middle? Does he come back in on the left hand side? That remains to be seen. We'll get into our predicted 11 in a few minutes, but it's good that Rashford is back available, and hopefully he can stay fit between now and the end of the season. Obviously, with a big game coming up as well with the FA Cup final against Man City. Now, we seem to mention it every week in relation to United, and that's the defence at the moment has been doing really well. Couple of clean sheets on the board. Obviously, the two games that we lost to Brighton and to West Ham were only by a goal, and there were individual errors. Obviously, Luke Shaw with that handball and David De Gea with the mistake. So I think on the, looking at it overall, I think our defence has been pretty solid for the last couple of weeks, if not months. Obviously, Varane is back now as well. He's got a couple of games under his belt, which is good to see. Victor Lindelof last week was my man of the match. I thought he had a very good game. And again, it goes back to what we were saying. I think he got a lot of unnecessary criticism over the last few years, given the fact that he was playing alongside Harry Maguire. I think he's a better defender than he's been made out to be over the last couple of seasons. I'd like to see him stay at the club next year, but that remains to be seen whether he wants to do that or not. It's good to see United keeping some clean sheets. Let's hope that gives us the impetus to go on and win the game. I mean, if we keep a clean sheet against Chelsea on Thursday night, we're qualified for the Champions League. Now, let's talk about Chelsea and the opposition. Obviously, they're having a terrible season. They really are. One of their worst seasons, in recent memory. And they're coming into this game with only one win in their last 12 games in all competitions. Really, really poor from Chelsea. But look, Manchester United and Chelsea games down through the years have always been close. They really have. Even when, if you go back as far as the Jose Mourinho days at Chelsea in the early 2000s, they were a far superior team. United were in a bit of a transition period. You always got close games. And I think on the flip side of that, we've seen, obviously, the Champions League finals and things like this. They've always been tight games, regardless of how good or bad these teams have been doing. And we've seen earlier on in the season, obviously, Manchester United drawing away at Stamford Bridge with a last-minute goal, obviously, with Casemiro. So I don't think United can go into this game not on their toes. I think we really do have to expect the worst. We're going to have to be on our game. I think if we are on our game, we should, I won't say get a comfortable win, but we should be putting Chelsea to the sword given how bad they are this season. And I mean, they really are all over the place. They haven't got a manager. Obviously, Pochettino is coming in next year. I think United should really get the job done. Now, let's talk about the starting 11 against Chelsea on Thursday night. And look, I don't think there's going to be many changes. Well, there's not many changes in relation to the team that I'm going to pick for it anyway. But we'll start off with the back five. I'm going to pick the same back five that started our last game. Obviously, David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw as our fullbacks, and of course Varane and Lindelof. Look, we've kept two clean sheets in the last two games. Two games prior to that, there was only one goal conceded in each game due to two individual errors as well. So I think our defence is doing quite well the last few games. So for that reason, I'm not going to make any changes. That's my back five. Now, similarly with midfield, I don't think there's going to be any changes here, really. We're getting back to, albeit it's at the end of the season, we're seeing our three strongest midfielders playing a lot together. And that's Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen for me. I don't see any reason to change it. It's the strongest midfield we have. There may be some changes at times where maybe Fred might come in for a bit of energy. We've seen him do well recently off the bench, but I think if you're looking at a starting lineup in midfield, it has to be these three. Now, when it comes to the forward line, obviously there's going to be one change here for me, and I'll put it up on the screen. I would like to see a forward line of Garnacho on the left, Anthony on the right, and Rashford to come back in through the middle. Obviously, Martial is, according to reports in the last couple of days, Ten Hag is running out of patience with him. So I would like to see Rashford come straight back in up front. Reason being is I want to see Garnacho start. He's after having a couple of good performances from the bench since he came back from his injury. He does give us a good option from the bench, I have to say. He tends to play really well when he comes on. He's a lot different to Sancho, in my opinion. He's more aggressive in terms of attacking the fullback. He likes to get to the end line. He likes to get into the box, take shots, cross the ball, whereas Sancho tends to get to the fullback, stop, come back, pass it to, back to a midfielder or back to his defence. It's night and day really with the both of them. But this is going to be my, I suppose, forward line, what I'd like to see. But make sure you let me know your predicted 11 in the comments below. Do you agree with this? What would you change? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, if we're looking at a score prediction, like I said, given how Chelsea have been playing this season, they've got one win from their last 12 games in all competitions, and how well our defence has been playing in the last few games, I can't see anything but Manchester United getting the victory. If I'm going with a score prediction, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Manchester United. We're not scoring a lot of goals, but we're scoring goals to get the job done. And I think our defence keeping clean sheets is giving us that platform to go on and win games by the smallest of margins. Of course, we've seen the last two games 1-0. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to United. Like I said, defence is very important. If I'm going to go with goal scorers, I think maybe Rashford to get off the scoreline, or to get off the mark again coming back from injury, and I'm going to go with Garnacho with a second one if he starts. But let me know your score predictions in the comment section below, guys. We'll be live for the watch along tomorrow night at 7:30. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock, so make sure you join us. Thanks everybody for watching. Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.